18th most dangerous state overall.
Wow.
The criminal hotspot in Hawaii isn't where you think it would be, in a major touristy area along the coast. It's in teeny Wahiawa, tucked away between two volcanoes. Now, some on the island here refer to Wahiawa as the armpit of Oahu. One local says there's drug fiends everywhere and street hookers everywhere, and the place looks like an all-around dump. However, for the most part, it's just robberies.
That's good.
Isolation of folks in this part of Hawaii.
Mappy! Haven't seen him in a while.
I run to live longer.
I eat healthy to feel my routine. I scratched.
I bitch myself like an asshole.
Idaho's not a very dangerous state. If you have to pick one place, it's going to be Garden City, little place on the fringes of the Boise sprawl. And some would call this a hipstery type place. But in Garden City, you'd have a 1 in 45 chance of being robbed, which is actually low for this list. In fact, Garden City is the least dangerous of all cities we're going to talk about in this video.
Wow.
With all the newcomers pouring into Idaho, you might expect to see crime go up. You'd be right, sort of. Violent crimes are on the rise in Idaho, including rapes and kidnappings. Just terrible. Hate crimes, though, are down here, so that's good.
Did you know there's been a spike in anti-Asian hate crime in the U.S.?
Actually, I heard that, Mappy. Apparently, some say part of the anti-Asian crimes are because of Trump's anti-China rhetoric. Like he called COVID the China virus. That made people upset, and they took it out on Asian Americans. I think we need you and super gay cop out on the streets of the places we're talking about, Mappy. You think you guys would be a good crime-fighting duo?
No.
If anyone ever hurts any Asians, I'll totally put in a headlock. I don't think you could put anybody in a headlock. You look pretty dainty there, guy. I'd like to see super gay cop and Mappy try to last in Mount Vernon, Illinois. They'd get run down in seconds. People in Illinois are like, wait, what about the south side of Chicago or East St. Louis? Well, believe it or not, Illinois people, Mount Vernon is even worse.
Wow.
Beat up in this little community every other day. And 3 people got killed here last year. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you measure it against the total number of people here, it is. This little place has the 4th highest crime rate in the state and the 3rd most robberies per capita. Little Mount Vernon, way out in the middle of the state, somewhere along I-57. Just skip that exit and keep driving if you're in that area. Now, many Americans know South Bend.
Yep, South Bend. Yep.
The prestigious University of Notre Dame. People in Indiana know South Bend is a terrible, dangerous hood.
Yep, I spent the night in South Bend a few times.
Little South
So,
Bend had 14 murders last
I
year.
knew it would be South Bend.
Also of note, this is where Transportation Secretary and former presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg was mayor for 8 years. He did not do a very good job there.
Hey, that's Philip's house.
Iowa is one of the safer places you can raise a family these days. But not in Council Bluffs, way out on the state's western border, just across the
Philip is dual experience, guys. Where he lives, I'm not telling you guys. He lives in the South Bend area, but he lives in the second part of South Bend.
All robberies in the whole state were committed here. Of course, gambling is legal in Iowa, so you have a lot of that crowd spilling over from Omaha and doing God knows what over here in Council Bluffs. But it's Iowa, and it's pretty safe overall. The most dangerous part of Iowa is like talking about the poorest billionaire. It's all about perspective, people. Wichita is the most populous city in Kansas. This is one of the rare times when a large city is the state's most dangerous. Look at this. The violent crime over time in Wichita is shooting through the roof, people.
Damn.
While the rest of the country's going
This is 2018.
Not Wichita. Why? Because of idiots who can't hold a job, ruining things for everybody else.
Hey.
Jails are full here. And Wichita Police Chief Gordon Ramsay says it's been a challenging year, you think? And all these drive-bys and attacks and murders. Well, they say they haven't figured out the causes, but a lot of crime can be traced back to drugs and mental health problems, at least in Wichita.
Mental health problems.
Now, while there's parts of Louisville that you would never
Maplefield.
get into, overall, it's only Kentucky's 2nd most dangerous place to live. The top honor goes to Little Mayfield, located out in the middle of an otherwise somewhat safe part of southeastern Kentucky. Mayfield ranks 3rd in the state for overall violent crimes per capita, and 1 in 23.
I'm glad I live in the city. I'm glad I don't live in a big city.
Opelousas, Louisiana is simply a terrible, crime-ridden...
Opelousas, Illinois? Louisiana? I thought it'd be New Orleans.
1 in 41 people was the victim of violent crime, which is 2nd only to Florida City. 1 in 41 people. Chances are, if you're a gadabout here in Opelousas, you know somebody who was beat up or raped last year. What is going on in Opelousas? Typically, crime and poverty go hand in hand. This is the 4th poorest place in Louisiana. Half of all residents live in poverty. Holton, Maine, located way out practically in Canada, is on paper the criminal hotspot here, but it's all relative. I mean, Maine is practically the safest state you can live in the country overall. Most of what goes on
Michigan,
is
too.
robberies. This little town hasn't seen a murder since 2015, when two teens brutally bludgeoned a 61-year-old man to death, which is just sick. But relatively speaking, one murder every decade is nothing compared to the other cities in this video.
Yeah, that's right.
Ocean City, believe it or not, is even more dangerous than Baltimore is when you measure crimes by the number of people who live there. It's actually the fourth most dangerous place in the country. 1 in 76 people is a victim of an assault, and 1 in 10 people was robbed here last year. Now, some would say the numbers are skewed against Ocean City because the population explodes in the summer, so a large number of crimes happen among tourists. And that's true. It also means you don't want to come here in the summer then, because you have a high chance of being robbed. Holyoke, Mass. is well known among the state's residents as being a terrible place to live. It's just north of Springfield, which is also a terrible place to live. A lot of the crime here is due to the gangs that roam around. Holyoke police say that 75% of violent crimes were committed by an estimated 600 gang members who are all battling for turf for their drug trafficking. Apparently crime is going down here though, partially due to the city's Safe Neighborhood Initiative, which helps steer kids away from gangs. Kids, gangs are bad. Gang membership peaked in the mid-90s, and then it went down, and then it went back up again about 15 years ago.
The 80s and 90s where it was real bad.
Estimated 750,000 gangbanger punks in this country who definitely...
It was 80s and 90s was always bad.
There's a reason they call Benton Harbor...
Okay. Ha ha ha.
Lake Michigan's even worse than Detroit and Flint.
Yeah, true.
Pontiac, everybody.
Benton Harbor's the worst.
150 people was assaulted here last year.
Benton Harbor's one of the worst cities to live in.
Police departments had a high turnover rate. They've had some budget issues. But the public safety director here last year said he envisions Benton Harbor as one day looking like Mayberry. Mayberry, people.
Andy Griffin.
Now, I hope they turn this place around and all, but they'd have to completely transform the type of people who
Bomb
live
the
here.
place.
They want Benton Harbor to one day look like Mayberry. Bemidji, Minnesota's been challenged for years now.
Benton Harbor makes sense, but I'm surprised Benton Harbor was on that list. I bet in Benton Harbor. Don't go there.
Where crime and drugs are rampant. Here in Bemidji, 1 in every 13 residents was robbed last year. A lot of residents blame the sheer boredom way out here for high crime rates. I guess robbing and stealing is fun for people, especially cars. I guess they steal a lot of cars off this way. The crime's been going down here, which is good. The cops say more cops has been the key to lowering crime in Bemidji, which throws the whole defund the police argument out the door, right? For all the knocks on Mississippi for its poverty and poor
Biloxi.
educational system, it's actually surprisingly safe. I mean, it ranks as the 28th most dangerous state. It's not that bad. Biloxi is a major tourist draw here along the coast, and there's a bunch of casinos, so you expect to see a lot more criminal elements here for those reasons alone. More than 2,600 people were robbed in Biloxi last year, which is about 7 people a day. What the hell? Springfield, Missouri is even more dangerous than St. Louis is, although St. Louis has far more murders than Springfield does. Springfield ranks second in the state for murders, assaults, and robberies, and had the most rapes of any other place in the state, too. Police say it's been a very violent, very dangerous, and very deadly year.
Hello.
That's an understatement.
This video's doing pretty good, guys.
How much the violent crimes
My videos are going up.
in Springfield have increased over the last 15 years. If you're good at math, you notice they have doubled. This was the second highest increase of any other major city in the nation during that time. Apparently, 2/3 of the aggravated assaults here were instances of domestic assault.
So let's make a video. Ask someone to make a video of how he does his videos.
Kind of have a place to live until they can sort out what's going on at home. They're also adding cops to the streets here too. Montana has crime just like anywhere else. Cut Bank is just about the smallest place we're going to visit today. Looks like a cute little place
3,000.
just outside of a Native American reservation. For Montana, based on statistics, it's the most dangerous. But come on now. There were 36 violent crimes here in all of last year. For perspective, in St. Louis, there were 16 violent crimes today. A little bit ago, we visited Council Bluffs, and just across the river from Iowa is Omaha, Nebraska.
Wow, Omaha.
The biggest city in this big old state.
Wow.
Again, it's rare when the largest city in the state's the most dangerous per capita, but here we are. Just the other day, some high school kids here got into a shootout with the cops. High school kids. And while other large cities in America saw a spike of 36% in murders last year, in Omaha, that number was up 61%. They're talking about building a $52 million prison in town to take the load off of the overcrowding here. I think that's a good idea. The worst part of Omaha is the north end, which has a lot of boarded up windows and gangs. Yes, even Nebraska has gangs, people. The biggest.
Trust me. At least I live in a city community that has no problem. Now, I got. Oh, that's done with hot now. I already hot now already. Hot now is gonna be. You do hot now? Hey.
Firestone tires were built for getting out there. Try them yourself for 90 days.
The biggest city to make this list? Las Vegas. Of course Las Vegas is going to be on here. Over 84 murders here. And who knows how many other ones happened in the back rooms of various casinos. Get this. Vegas saw 46,000 robberies last year. That's a robbery every 11 minutes. Just yesterday, some a-hole punched a tourist and killed him right on the strip. And he says he didn't do anything wrong. Imagine that. While a lot of the crimes here happen in the darkish areas, kind of just off of the famous strip, there's a lot of gang and drug activity all in this damn place. New Hampshire is the safest state of all states. So Rochester ranking as the most dangerous doesn't really mean it's actually dangerous. But we had to pick somebody. Statistically, every year, 1 in 335 people was a victim of a violent crime, and 1 in 33 people was robbed. That's just sad in America, that 1 in 335 people being attacked is low. Like other touristy spots we've already discussed, Atlantic City gets a bad rap because tons of people spill into the area every summer, which results in huge spikes of crime. But still, somebody was murdered here every month last year, which is super high for a city of 37,000 people. Atlantic City's working hard to clean this place up, and they're trying to move away from being a gambling hub and to be viewed as more of a family destination. They're going around and knocking down a bunch of buildings and working with convenience store and pawn shops and liquor store owners to kind of identify potential crimes before they happen. Which state's the most dangerous of all? Not Alaska. It's New Mexico. And Gallup is the poster child for everything that's wrong with New Mexico's crime wave. 1 out of every 50 residents here was a victim of violence, and 1 in 16 was robbed last year. Lots of it's because of drugs and alcohol. A lot of the downtown buildings have bars on the windows, and there's even razor wire on the car dealerships, if you can believe that. A lot of the problem here is because a lot of people are on welfare, because they don't work. Binghamton's a rough and tumble city near the Pennsylvania state line. It's this state's most dangerous place because of the high number of robberies. This has been an area on the decline for years now, due in part to a loss of manufacturing jobs. You can see on this map that most of the problems are near the water. So if you go there, stay away from the water, I guess. Now, Whiteville is a sneaky, dangerous city on the southeastern part of the state, way down near South Carolina. This city ranks 5th of all cities on this list, and you probably haven't even heard of it. Whiteville, North Carolina. 1 in 68 people were victims of a violent assault, and 1 in 10 people gets robbed every year here. Can you believe that? Police say a lot of the crimes are because there's a lot of outsiders coming to town to gangbang and deal drugs. But a lot of problems stem from a lack of jobs. The manufacturing and agriculture industry declines in this part of the state have been particularly devastating. 17% of North Dakota's residents live in Fargo, but it's not that bad here when compared to everybody else in this video. However, Fargo's crime levels are kind of going up year by year. Back in the early 1990s, Fargo's crime rate was 6 times lower than the national average. Now it's above the national average. What's going on in Fargo? Now, Ohio is just riddled with
Canton.
So Canton
Makes
ranking
sense.
is the most dangerous city in the state. It's really saying something about how bad Canton is. I mean, there's parts of Cincinnati and East Cleveland that would scare even super gay cop. Every day here, 3 people are beaten up. And a lot of Canton's problems mirror those of many other struggling Ohio communities, which saw a big drop in manufacturing and other blue-collar jobs. Today, drugs have taken hold on thousands of Canton's residents, and a third of the city lives below the poverty line. That's a big reason for the 3,700 property crimes that plague the city every year, and another reason Ohio is the 8th fastest shrinking state in the nation. Oklahoma is in the top 10 for crime among
Tulsa.
U.S. states, and Tulsa has been a center point for a lot of criminal activity. 1 in 17 people were the victim of some sort of crime here. The North End was notorious for being a really bad area, but now apparently all the problems are on the city's south side. Criminals just kind of move around. That's why they're hard to stop. They don't ever sit still long enough to whack them with a shoe. Way out along the Idaho state line is the smallest city
Ogden.
in Oregon you may have not even heard of. Ontario, Oregon has the second highest rate of rapes, second highest rate of burglaries, and the highest murder rate in the state. Way out here, in the middle of nowhere, Oregon. Of course, Portland has become a terrible, terrible place for crime as well. Folks are leaving Portland in droves because of a spike in crime due to things like drug use, homeless population spike, and less police intervention. Gotta figure it out, Portland. Sure, there's neighborhoods in Philadelphia which are some of the worst hoods in the whole nation, but Chester, on the southern fringes of Philadelphia, is actually worse per capita, believe it or not. Here, there were nearly 2 violent attacks every day and more than 1,000 property crimes. That's a lot for a city of 34,000 people. The number of violent crimes here is more than double of any other place in Pennsylvania, even Reading. And this is despite the fact that they've increased the police budget here. Incidentally, 1 in 5 Chester residents doesn't work. Imagine that. Here we are in the capital of Rhode Island. Most of the crimes happen within certain pockets of Providence, such as the city's Olneyville, Elmwood, West End, or South Providence areas. Some of the violence here is traced to a feud among local gangs, but there is stuff happening all over here now in areas that were once safe. Recently, a man was shot and dumped into a park here. Somebody else was stabbed to death in the food court of the mall. What the? A man was stabbed and left for dead at a fire station in town, and shots were even fired at people near the home of the city's mayor. What is happening in Providence? What in the hell?
Providence is one of the worst places in the world to live, it looks like.
Of course, Myrtle Beach is a crazy place for robberies and assaults in the summer months, but little rednecky Darlington is the place with the highest crime levels in the state.
Got some games later.
People is victimized by a robbery or a theft here, which is like every third home on every block. This Darlington man, take a good look, was arrested the other day for throwing an 83-year-old woman to the ground and taking her purse. He deserves far more than what the criminal justice system is going to give him.
Life
The
in
smallest
prison.
city to make this list is teeny Flandreau, way out on the Minnesota border and home to the Flandreau Indian Reservation. There really isn't much here except a big casino. That's probably why the crime rate's so high. All those crazy gambling people desperate for more money to jam into the machines. If Memphis wasn't on this list, you'd probably doubt the statistics used to compile it. There were 323 murders here last year, which is by far an all-time high. Last year didn't start off very well. On January 2nd, an 18-year-old woman was found stabbed to death on a major intersection in town. In the middle of the day, he gets victimized every year by a robbery or a theft. Car thefts are a big deal here. Then when you measure Humboldt against every other state's most dangerous